Grossman is going to deliver our sermon today. He thinks a lot about social issues. He's not particularly qualified to do so, but he likes to talk about them.
Did he write that, or did you?
He wrote it.
Yeah, you got a problem with it? Okay. I browse my habitual morning news sites, and what do I see? Wars, shooting, starvation, coercion, deportation, incarceration, corruption, disasters. And for each one of these, explanations, justifications, exhortations, enthusiasms, commitments, thoughts, and prayers. I think, do they really expect me to believe these responses? Do they expect me to support these words and actions? They're all ineffectual, ritualistic, predictable. These verbal responses are laughable. These actions, no matter how forceful, are inadequate at best, or even more likely to have the opposite of the desired effect. Yet, it goes on in multiple, endless cycles. Why? People in power are acting solely in their self-interest, acting against the welfare of the people of the earth, the present welfare, the future welfare. Yet, in many cases, these powerful people are there with the consent of a majority of the governed. Many of those who consent enthusiastically speak and act according to a set of ideas and attitudes, some conscious, some unconscious. Those ideas and attitudes enable them to make sense of their world. According to those ideas and attitudes, those in power are doing the right thing. Yes, of course I'm talking about MAGA. But that's easy pickings. It's easy to see that A, something's very wrong there, and B, those who are comfortable with those ideas and attitudes are deluded. But that's focusing on an extreme version of the ideas and attitudes that pervade our whole society. Recognizing and dealing with that is what I want to talk about today. A set of ideas and attitudes that enables people to make sense of their world can be called an ideology. That term has been used ambiguously since its first formulation in the late 18th century. And here we're going to attempt to do that and do that. And yes. Okay, let's get this thing out of here. Very good. Okay. Here's my definition of ideology, parts of which I stole from a 20th century political scientist. Citation available on request. You can read those as well as I can. And I'm going to go through them one at a time. And ideologies, ideas, and attitudes guide what people perceive, how they think, and what they think they know. They guide the judgments people make of other people and of events. They guide the actions people take and motivate people to take action. And the ideologies ideas appear, at least on the surface, to be logically consistent. So far, this is just a description of a person or a group of people's worldview. No big deal. That worldview can define a group of people who hold it and serve as the basis of a bond between them. Depending on that view, the group may or may not think, judge, or act for the good of society. A worldview might embody some unconsciously held thoughts and attitudes. These may surface in reaction to unforeseen situations or events. People might surprise themselves by their own actions, which may be counter to their consciously held notions and feelings, their judgments and attitudes about themselves. That opening that I put together shows people on January 6th, 2021, acting in ways that later, when they were called up in a court of law, they said, I don't know why I did that. But what truly defines an ideology is what it does to the analytical powers of those who are subject to it. Any analysis that might lead to its modification is resisted. The ideology has a preventative notion or attitude for anything that might lead to change, and a negative characterization of any who oppose it is always at the ready. So that's what I mean by an ideology. Do we see signs of anything like this in our society today? Of course. There's at least one, and I'm talking about the ideology that pervades our society. Where did this ideology come from, and what's it like? It's been said that humanity has developed economically, industrially, and technologically since the Renaissance without a parallel moral and spiritual development. Here's the late Pope Francis writing in 2015. The fact is that contemporary man has not been trained to use power well because our immense technological development has not been accompanied by a development in human responsibility, values, and conscience. But it's not true that there has been no moral and spiritual development. Along with that physical and economic development, there has been a parallel development of a political, social, and personal, mental, and emotional model, a worldview, an ideology. That ideology not only enables that technological and industrial development, but fosters the acceptance of its consequences. That ideology tells us that it's okay, even necessary, for some to accumulate resources far beyond their needs. Those resources can be used to enable the accumulation of still more. It's regrettable if that accumulation results in withholding from others what they need to sustain a decent life, but you can't make an omelet without breaking eggs. It's okay to employ processes that result in irreparable damage to that which we all need to survive: air, water, soil, livable temperature. Besides, there's probably not going to be a significant result for a long time, or it might not even happen. We don't have to believe what those scientists keep telling us. We're free. It's okay to make rules to protect that accumulation and those processes, a few people's comfort, and to employ violence to enforce those rules. The rules must be obeyed, or civilization will crumble. it is said. That's a taste of the dominant ideology in our society. Its adherents call it conservatism. That is not what the word meant until the mid-20th century, but it's what it means now. Applying the principles underlying this ideology ignores the experience of those who it objectifies. The notion of citizenship, for example, defines some people as non-citizens, a class of people whose suffering we can ignore. If we are to survive for much longer, or even if we are to be able to live by values that bear our own examination, that dominant ideology must change. It must change because it dominates our politics and economics, as well as our economic development. That politics is leading us to fascism, another ideology. And that economy is leading us to global disaster. How can we change it? As people who grew up in this culture, surrounded by it, we're in it and it's in us. How can we see out of it when our vision is colored by these cultural goggles? One idea that comes immediately to mind is replace it with a different one. Somehow, an opposing ideology would emerge victorious from a battle between the new and the old. There is a large faction of the governed who do not support those in power. They speak and act according to a different set of ideas and attitudes, some conscious, some unconscious. According to those ideas and attitudes, those in power are doing wrong. Many in this faction are subject to an opposing ideology. It's what is currently, and oddly, called liberalism. It's called that by its detractors, holders of the dominant ideology, and even some of its adherents. That is not what the word meant until the mid-20th century, but it's what it means now. In brief, liberalism means keep everything the same, but do it more fairly. Keep the same politico-economic system, but control accumulation. Keep the system, but give every person the same opportunities. Keep the system, but right historical wrongs. Do all that by latching on to specific issues and demanding change. Hold all of these ideas to be self-evident, rendering any analysis unnecessary. Our society is currently engaged in a battle between conservatism and liberalism right now. And there's lots of collateral damage. Ask any member of a minority. More important, if, say, liberalism were to win, what would change? Would there be fundamental change? On the surface, maybe. Fundamentally, no. For instance, can a set of rules eliminate massive accumulation while allowing profit? Would no one find a way around those rules? Can everything be fair? Would there be no conflicts? Let's look at another approach. In last week's service, Reverend Lauren quoted from Robin Wall Kimmerer's book, The Serviceberry. In that book, and in her previous book, Braiding Sweetgrass, Kimmerer describes what she calls gift economies of Native American societies before you know what happened in the mid-1400s. In describing, actually it's the late 1400s, in describing the worldview of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, I hope I didn't butcher that too badly, in what is today called New York State, she writes, we humans must consume. since we are animals to whom the gift of photosynthesis was not given. What would it be like to consume with the full awareness that we are the recipients of earthly gifts, which we have not earned? To consume with humility. We are called to harvest honorably, with restraint, respect, reverence, and reciprocity. The guidelines of that honorable harvest are not usually written down. They are reinforced in small acts of daily life. But if I, that's 𝘗𝘁, were to list them, they would look something like this. And please remember that these might refer to transactions between people, not just between people and plants. Know the ways of the ones who take care of you, so that you can take care of them. Introduce yourself. Be accountable as the one who comes asking. Ask permission before taking. Abide by the answer. Never take the first one, never take the last. Take only what you need. Take only that which is given. Never take more than half. Leave some for others. Harvest in a way that minimizes harm. Use it respectfully. Never waste what you have taken. Share. Give thanks for what you have been given. Give a gift in reciprocity to what you have taken. Sustain the ones who sustain you, and the earth will last forever. Can an economy and a political system be built on these ideas and attitudes? The 𝘗𝘭𝘦𝘢𝘴 did. Could we? And could we ensure that we continue to examine the society's principles and modify them as needed to keep from sliding into ideology? I don't know. It sure seems worthy of serious investigation. Let's look at one more question. Is Unitarian Universalism an ideology? Can its ideas and attitudes form the basis of a different society? 𝘬𝘬 was based, until recently, on a worldview summed up in the 7 principles. Recently, these were supplemented by the shared values. Those are small, sorry. So here are the 7 principles. The important thing is the green one. It's important for our question, is 𝘬𝘬 an ideology, to focus on the 4th principle, which says, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Then we have the shared values. Those are small too. Sorry about that. One of them, the transformation value, explicitly calls out the necessity to adapt to change. It says, transformation. We adapt to the changing world. Granted that our principles, there they are, and values could form the basis of a workable society, the 4th principle and the transformation value are evidence that 𝘬𝘬 is not an ideology. It's a set of ideas and attitudes that embody a free and responsible search for truth and meaning that explicitly adapts to the changing world. And if you could see it, there is a line through that bottom thing. It does not resist examination or modification. Here's a final thought from Robin Wall Kimmerer's The Serviceberry that might point the way to social change. Here she writes of ecosystems and economies where we are considering worldviews. How do systems change? How can we move toward the just communities we need and want? The natural processes of ecological replacement highlight two mechanisms at work in replacing a complex system that dominates the landscape and seems too big to change. Succession of ecosystems relies in part on incremental change, the slow, steady replacement of that which does not serve ecological flourishing with new communities. But it also relies on disturbance, on disruption of the status quo in order to let new species emerge and flower. Some massive disturbances are destructive, and recovery from them may not be possible. Other disturbances of the right scale and type create renewal and diversity. Disruptions cause gaps, openings, and edges between the new and the dominant. Both of these tools, incremental change and creative disruption, are available to us as agents of cultural transformation. I hope we will use them both in these urgent times to become the storm that topples the senescent, destructive economies so the new can emerge. The gap edges where two ecosystems, the new and the old, meet are among the most diverse and productive of ecosystems. There are species that live in neither the new nor the old, but at the edges. Next week, I'll look at an even more fundamental aspect of worldview. What is reality?